The first subclass is going to be the Thief. And what I want to try to do here is to see if we can't make some kind of dual wield focus work, even at level 5 for the Rogue. So the idea is that the Rogue with 2 weapons in melee, in conjunction with the Thief, can utilize the bonus action for extra damage. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to add as many instances of attacks and as many damage riders as possible for those attacks. So I'll just go over the spec real quick and then the gear. Astarion has the refresh buff from the well at the hag. Outside of that, Astarion has the dual wielder feat, and the consideration here is that the weapons in the first act for a dual wielder are not particularly strong. However, there are a couple of good weapons that are not light. So for this to make sense, after a lot of playtesting, I have to say, the dual wielder feat seems to be at least a viable option to make this work in this early bit of the game. Outside of that, the illithid powers are the Luck of the Far Realms with Call of the Week, and then the final point here, putting into Transfuse Health, is to go and get the Shield of Thralls for later use. Right. So that is the Thief here. The idea is that with the gear, out of lack of better options, I'm putting on the Shadow of Menzo Baranton. I don't need either medium armor or light armor, no armor. So for that reason, I do have the option to put on light armor stuff. The other option is the haste helm, which of course is not bad, but in this case, not particularly necessary. So this is an option to cloak myself in case that it becomes a little bit too hairy. Another upside to getting invisibility as a rogue obviously is that the sneak attack becomes available on the following turn. So even if I lose a full action to this, it just gives me time to reposition, and in this fight that can become necessary. Light armor, padded armor +2, light armor. Gloves of Power, out of lack of better gear. I don't have access to anything I can't kill at this point in time. There are a couple of alternatives in the glove slot, but that requires at this point a lot of cheesing, which I am trying not to do for this character and for this video seance. The Linebreaker boots is a little gem. As a thief, in principle, well, you can dash once per turn as a bonus action, and you still have the other bonus action. And for whatever reason, this doesn't give 2 turns of wrath. This gives 3 turns of wrath. So effectively, that's 3 points of extra damage for both of your other attacks, if you choose to use 1 bonus action for the dash. And this is extremely effective, as I'll show in this seance. For the weapons, I'm going to be using the Sword of Screams in the offhand, assuming that I'm going to be hitting with all of my offhand attacks. This means I have 2 attacks with the psychic damage bonus and the acid damage bonus, obviously every turn. That's going to be coupled with the Falar Alluve, which I'm going to be buffing at the beginning of the fight for various reasons, but primarily, of course, because I want the damage riders. It's going to add a lot of extra damage to the attacks that Astarion is doing. So that's basically the gist of things. The Staff of Arcane Blessing is going to be used. Before the fight as a pre-buff. It's a bless spell. that's going to add to you 1d4 to your saving throws, which is pretty good for resisting the moonbeam and for resisting the entangling shot that Olodon does, because the entangling shot is, in my opinion, actually at this point the biggest danger for Astarion, and this has also to do with the fact that Astarion has the uncanny jump, which doesn't uncanny dodge, sorry, which doesn't seem to be showing anywhere on the list. But what it does is that it effectively halves the damage of whatever hits him the first time in the round, which, if it's the moonbeam, that's very good. And this is going to help. The bless is going to help greatly. And if it doesn't go off, if it's not broken in the first turn, that's going to add to his hit chance a lot. It is very, very strong. I recommend pre-casting this for Astarion in the early game, at least, in the hard fights. So that's basically it. And then for the bow weapon, I'm going to be using the Bow of Awareness, because initiative is key, and seeing as I only have the 16 in dex as a +3 bonus, I want help. And even with a +4 in bonus, it's still easy to lose the initiative, unfortunately. That just is what it is. Then the Caustic Band, and for the ring slot, another invisibility source, because Astarion is a relatively weak candidate for this encounter in comparison with other level 5 characters. So it is a failsafe, basically. The Amulet of the Misty Step is that if I get into a situation where, for example, I get entangled, or Kagha decides to run away from me, because I am going to try to see if I can't nuke her down as soon as possible, then I need to kind of consider if I want to follow her. Outside of that, the Misty Step can be used to get away. It can be used to go to Nettie to try and see if I can't bring her into the battle. It can be used to get to high ground in case I need high ground. So it does have a variety of great options to kind of use that as to my advantage. All right, so I will be proceeding to initiate the fight here. Going to position Scratch over by Findle, because in case that she decides that 2 targets is better than 1, I can actually see if I can't get the Moonbeam to hit both. So I'm going to be blessing myself, the dog, and Wrath. The dog is nice because then I can direct. I can direct an attack, chance to break concentration on either of the very dangerous enemies. So with the blessing up, I can go ahead and switch my Felar Aloof Blade in. The blessing is staying up here, and I will be proceeding to exit turn-based mode, activate my Felar Aloof. The second that neutral entities are faced with the Felar Aloof Melody Shriek ability, they're going to be running away, and the idea is to get Kagha to run next to Wrath, so that she is next to an allied target, enabling my sneak attack in the immediate following immediately. So that is the idea. Currently, Astarion doesn't have the happy buff up, but that is because that the Vampire Bite actually serves as a source of healing once the fight has started. So I don't want to be using that until I've taken a couple of points of damage. So I am going to be exiting turn-based mode and activating the Shriek now. Oh, that was a little bit too hasty. And now, let's see, we still have our 5 turns of Shrieking. And so I'll be talking to Kagha now in turn-based mode. Very important that you activate turn-based mode, otherwise she'll be running and you can't catch her. So I'm showing Wrath the letter here, and I'm clicking 3. And now the fight starts. And then the initiative is rolled. Olodon is first, which is bad. And she misses. That's very fortunate. Olodon Oladan has an 18 index, so that's problematic. Kagha with her Moonbeam and her Heat Metal are also very dangerous, but let's see if we can't manage to bring her down. We go here. And then we get a critical hit in, which was not even the Log of the Far Realm. So that's very fortunate. Remember to use the Cunning action. That was a mistake. Use that to begin with to get 3 turns of Wrath. That's extra damage for you right there. So I'll be attacking her. Hopefully we hit. And we take the crit. Let's just look at the damage there. Might be a mistake to crit on the offhand attack and not on a sneak attack. But regardless, the damage there is very, very bad rolls all the way through. Very, very poor rolls. Could have been much higher. But it is what it is. And we had to... Let's see if we can. We don't want to... Oh, that was a mistake. And now she attacks. That was bad. Just make sure it's because you don't want the Moonbeam to be hitting both you and Wrath. She likes to do that. Now she'll probably just hit me with the Moonbeam. There we go. That was the 11 damage. That was the full damage. And that's because the damage reduction went in on... No, the Uncanny Dodge. The Uncanny Dodge does not seem to be present for this round, which is strange. Maybe the Uncanny Dodge is being triggered by the attack that Oladan did, and then the Uncanny Dodge triggers on the first attack. I'm not entirely sure about that. I just know that it works to basically half the damage off of the Moonbeam if you're in luck. Dodging the Ensnaring Strike is very good. It's very, very strong. Let's see, where did Kagha go? Kagha tried to escape, and in this case, I'm going to go for her because she is just absolutely the most dangerous target out of all of the enemies here. So we're going to kill her, and then as well try to see if we can't optimize. Oh, we're going to bite her first, obviously. There we go, which dies. And then I want to see if we can't. I think I'm going to use a sneak attack with the bow here. I'm going to keep it melee just for the I can't do that though. Alright, so that means a sneak attack here. So even if it's not a very high damage, it's still better than losing your action. But getting Kagha is paramount. If you can get Kagha with the Thief, this encounter seems like, with the spec and everything, in my experience, it seems like it's over and done. Like, the bad rolls for Astarion in the beginning of the fight can be really, really, really critical. As for any class with a very high damage roll on the Moonbeam, if you can't kind of bait the Moonbeam somewhere else, that's a problem. But if that kind of succeeds and Oladan doesn't Ensnaring Strike you successfully, there is the Ensnaring Strike, then it's kind of it's manageable. Alright, so now my movement is gone. So pretty much what I want to do here is to simply use, I'm going to dash to get my Wrath charges up, and then I'm just going to hide. No, I'm not, because of the Ensnared. This is a bad situation in which I'm going to use my Blade Ward, which I chose for the High Elf cantrip. And that's it for this turn. It's like we can hide, even if it fails. So this is obviously the most dangerous thing for the melee rogue, for obvious reasons, is the Ensnaring Strike from Oladan. So Oladan and Kagha, two most dangerous targets in this. Kagha by far the most dangerous, but Oladan is a close second. The 2 turns of Blade Ward should enable me to kind of deal with. Okay, so she's shooting me from the hole in the wall. Great. And there is the break for that. So now the question is, because there's one turn of Blade Ward, and we could go and assassinate Penta, which I think, if effectivity-wise, is going to be by far the strongest option. Let's just go and do that here. She dies. Oh, she doesn't die, but she's going to in a moment. So that means I actually have to... That's bad, right? I can just go here. And then I can reach her, right? There we go. And then going to... Oh, why is that? Okay, so he's okay. They're going to go for me. If you go too close, they're going to go for you. So I'm going to run down here in the hopes that Olden is going to ignore me, which is probably a little bit too optimistic. But now we have a wolf who decides to go into the middle. So that's a... Oh, there Silver goes. Mackerel is almost down, leaving 2 Shadow Druids and... Yeah. So Olden is still out, and she is still very dangerous. The Ensnaring Strike, very dangerous. Ensnaring Strike is, I believe, a strength check. The Mistral Blessing does not, should not help in this case. So this is pretty problematic, and I think we want to use. Let's see. This is a point where you want to be shooting, but you can't. I'm going to use a cunning action dash here to get to 7, which is the maximum amount of breath charges. And then I'm going to run to her. And then I'm going to try to lacerate her. And then I'm going to see if I can pommel strike her. Yeah. And then we're going to see if this is not good enough. I mean, Mackerel is going to go for me. Damage right there. Luckily, Claws on Wrath. And so, even if Findle is not particularly strong for this fight, he still is. He is a source of various things. I'm going to be... Let's see if we... Probably we want to see if we can't... Optimally, we go and we work with the sneak attack, but as this is an example where I want to try to only melee, the idea is to not overuse the shooting unless I absolutely have to. So let's pull a bonus action on Mackerel. Worked. I wish you would come closer, Findle. I wish you would come closer. And the off balance of the piercing attack is just so much damage, but it's because of the wrath bonuses. And the great thing about the wrath bonuses is that they don't dissipate after usage. So I can kind of really abuse this like in a bad way. So I'm going to run over here now to get out of Ren's range, because I don't want him to be running for me. He's blind, but Wrath is still up. And the whole person. Okay, that's pretty good. And then I'm going to risk it all and run in and just go ham on. I'm going to use a bonus action for this. I should obviously have cunning action dash, but mistakes were made. And we bang this guy, and we bang him again with not enough resources. It's a movement issue. So I will be using the hide, just to see if we can get away with that. And we can. And then the Wrath is out. And he's looking for the hiding rogue. And Ren has a bunch of hit points. I mean, he's a high HP, so I do not know if this is going to be enough, but he is by far the most dangerous out of the remaining enemies. There he goes. And then I don't think Loic is going to be able to hit me, so I'm going to dash and get my Wrath up and attack Loic again. Attack Loic first time, here we go, and then he's attacking, bit of damage. And there we go. Fight is over. Alright, so for the thief, probably getting to level 6 before doing any kind of fight with this. I mean, you can, of course, you can choose to do the Kagha fight without the Kagha involved and kill her later, if that's what you want, if you want the necklace. But if you choose to do it like this, which I like to do because it's fun for me, and so if you want to do this fight, obviously there are a couple of things. Like you can choose a variety of things. The idea for the thief was to use melee primarily, only primarily, and there are problems. Obviously, the low AC is a huge issue. The low strength for resisting the entangling shot is not very optimal. The refresh buff from the hack is something that I would definitely encourage people to get if that's available to you. Probably, like, I mean, the Blade Ward is a great cantrip for this because most of the damage here is physical outside of the Moonbeam. But I would definitely say, from my experience with the melee rogue in this place, that in this position, that in the early game, I just see that the dual wield defeat with the option to carry 2 very strong weapons that you can get fairly easy in the early game is a great option, as opposed to simple +1, or not even +1 short swords that are available to you in the first act. How that's going to impact the later game, if you don't want to respec, that's a whole different matter. So, but this is an example of a character that I see is relatively competent and can actually deal with things. The combination of the Sword of Screams and the Falar Louvre, as long as you can guarantee the Sword of Screams hitting things without the +1, is what I would call a relatively stable bet. Next up is the Assassin. The Assassin subclass has access to 3 abilities which are usable if the enemies are surprised, if you attack outside of combat, which we won't do. So basically the Assassin subclass is not going to have anything valuable for us in this fight, which is also why I chose to build this character with the Sharpshooter talent, along with a build consisting of the Titan String bow, piggybacking off of the Club of Hildjarn strength, which when I equip this will take my strength to 19, which is very effective. So basically this is it. So this will be a hide and seek fight where I will try to basically kill people and stealth afterwards. What we're looking at is a setup with the Shadow of Menzoberranzan for that extra stealth in case things go south. It is the padded armor because we don't have anything better at the moment. It is the gloves of archery because that's what we're going to use together with the Corsic band. Disintegrating Nightwalkers because Misty Stepping is great, which is also what I have on the amulet. Extra invisibility on the ring. Titan String bow in conjunction with obviously the Club of Hildjarn strength. So the Titan String bow adds the strength modifier to the damage, putting my damage to a +4 from strength and a +3 from dexterity. That's a +7 to each attack, which is going to benefit me greatly. I'm going to start the fight right away. It's going to be not entirely similar, but somewhat similar to what just happened before. So I will buff myself. Going to take Scratch up to Findle, because we can always hope for that Moonbeam. And then I'm going to buff. So I will be in the middle when the fight starts, which is not very preferable, to say the least. Popping the Blade Ward here, just for a little bit of extra help. And then we start the fight. We click through the fight, show the letter to Wrath, and then we click 3. And then we have our fight. And the initiative roll is obviously very important, which is a little bit stupid, but it is super important. We're going to go to the ledge here. I think I need to be able to hit Kagha. This is pretty important. If you can hit Kagha and you can bring her HP down, also in particular if you have the Luck of the Far Realms available to you, then you can actually manage to really fuck her. I'm getting an attack here because they haven't had that turn yet, so I still have my advantage, which is fine, because then I can deal a buttload of damage to her. I'm going to use Brace though, just to make matters worse, and then we'll see what happens. Critical strike. That was a very low roll, I think. Anyways, it's better than nothing, and I think that's going to scare her. I should have moved a little bit back. I was a little bit too hasty there. Because now I'm getting a little bit of damage from Olodon and Pinta, which... Oh, she chose to attack Wrath. And there is the Moonbeam, which she decides to cast. Let's see if we can't break it. Nope. He always has it out for Loic. Right. Okay, so currently can't have... So I still want to kill Kagha. So I am going to very aggressively go for that. We can't... Oh, there is the range. No sharpshooter. So I'm going to take that out. Click it off. And shoot Kagha here. There we go. So there is that option that she's still... And I'm going to try to hide here. Kagha is now in the druid form here. So as long as she's in the wolf form, we're not that worried about her. So I think I am going to help Wrath out a little bit by attacking some... Oh, I forgot the sharpshooter. That was a mistake. Attacking some of the others. And they're going to come for me, so I am going to need to reposition. They still can't see me. There's a little bit of oomph to the stealth. Now we're out. We're still hiding. Okay. So probably I am actually going to attack Olodon here. I'm going to add the Going to attack all of them. Oh, and now we're out of the... That was unfortunate. Okay. Don't want to be standing here, so I probably want to shoot her without the all-in. The idea is that if you can get the... Okay, let's just retreat a little bit to Nettie's office here, I think. Getting the not getting the sneak attacks obviously is a big problem for the rogue. That's so much of the rogue's damage right there. I put Nettie into the fight because at this point I think it makes sense to just show that that's a thing that you can do. I'm going to bite him. And then let's see if we can't make it. There's a little bit all than can is susceptible to a sneak attack here, so we'll do that. And it's a kill. So as long as you hit, as long as the damage modifiers work somewhat, you don't even need a critical hit. You just need your sneak attacks. And then it works. Unfortunately, Nettie is not my ally, so I can't piggyback off of her position as an advantage giver. So I need to use my bonus action to hide here, and then we're going to shoot Kagha. And she dies. That is because we're doing horrendous damage. Or a lot of damage is what I meant to say. So this fight is pretty much won already. Where can we go? Is that the bird watching me? So the bird is spotting me. That's great. Does the hide work? The hide doesn't work. Thank you, bird. Okay, we're going to shoot this guy out of the room. Maybe. Maybe not. It's interesting that once the shadow druids morph into their respective animal shapeshift forms, their HP is reduced drastically. And this means something if you're thinking about abilities that depend on hit points. So for instance, the sleep spell suddenly can be used on them even though they have a maximum hit point, which is much higher. Yeah, I'm a little bit sloppy with the all-in right now, but that's because the fight is already won. And a big part of the strength of the rogue is, and I have to say, a very big part of the strength of the rogue is the uncanny dodge. Particularly for this fight, which really helps you mitigate the damage from the moonbeam in those situations. It's a big deal. I wouldn't say it's the rogue's saving grace as a mono class. but I would say that it definitely is. It helps a whole lot. Nettie is just not helping you out. Okay, so that's it. The Assassin is, I think, probably the weakest of the 3 subclasses for anything else but Assassination, which is not what I'm doing here. But so, I mean, obviously the Assassin subclass with a level 3 dip for a multi-class is extremely strong. As a monoclass, it's somewhat lackluster, which is why I decided to go with the Titan String Bow in this case. The Titan String Bow plus the Strength Club or an Hill Strength Elixir will basically make your character work in so many cases for so many classes. Yes, so I will be going to the final one. For the last subclass, the Arcane Trickster, I'm going to be walking through the process of leveling the character. The Arcane Trickster subclass has a lot of spells, and the Mage Hand Legerdemain, which is a permanent invisibility hand that's going to help us with advantage. The cantrips, I think maybe not so important. Choose whatever you like. I choose Friends and Minor Illusion because those can be beneficial to me at a later point in time. The spells can be repicked, choosing wizard spells in the following levels. And the expanded spell slot is where things get interesting. The shield spell is particularly strong for the Arcane Trickster, so I would strongly recommend getting that. For the feat, I'm going to be replacing spell. Sorry, we're going to replace Tasha's hideous laughter with the Longstrider spell. And the feat that we're going to choose here is the Moderately Armored, adding a point to strength, but enabling me to wear shields and heavy armor, which is going to make me a different beast to kill. And we're going to replace the Disguise Self spell as well. I'll be choosing the Thunder Wave. There are many options. I'll be choosing the Thunder Wave for utility. Alright, level 5. Okay, so I'll be summoning the Mage Hand over here. The Mage Hand has this issue that it will get spotted by See Invisibility. Astarion can see invisibility, so he reveals his own minion, which is what it is. But that's basically why it is all the way over there at the moment. I'll be sending Scratch to Findle. And then I'll be going over the gear setup that I'm going to use for this. It's more or less the same thing. I am going to switch in the Bow of the Banshee just to play around with that a little bit. It is definitely weaker than the Titan String Bow, but it is fine for this. Because I'm now going to be using first of all, medium armor for extra AC, a shield. I can then swap in my Falar Alluve, which I think is always a very, very excellent item to be wielding in this case. And the rest is pretty much as is. It is going to be archer focused slash, you know, whatever makes sense in the situation. The Arcane Trickster has a lot of options with its expanded toolkit, so that is basically what's going to happen. I am going to be casting a little bit of Longstrider on everybody. Except my Mage Hand. No, this is not where we're going, Mage Hand. This is where we're going. So locating your friends and giving them some long strider is definitely not a bad bet. Spotting your own invisible mage hand is maybe one of the most meaningless things that I've tried in a video game. But it is what it is. It's how the mechanic works. Okay, I think everybody has been long strided. So I will be going into the setup situation part of this, which is going to be the same as the thief in that I want to move her, but in a different direction this time. I'm going to move her towards Nettie. And this has, there's a couple of reasons for this. I mean, Nettie is a person you can or cannot get into the fight, depending on what you want. She's a very strong ally for this. She just is. But just for the fun of it, to showcase again what the Falar Aloof melody does. So when I click this, everybody's going to run from me, which is just fantastic. And now the pause. We lose one turn, but you know, who cares? Then we're going to have the chat.
What? You think yourself?
It's not necessary to do the Falar Aloof trick in order for this to work. It's just funny. Okay, so we're opportunity attacking. There we go. Juicy opportunity attack. And now Nettie suddenly is already in the fight. So this is extremely strong already. I will be... Let's see. Yeah. So for the damage, the sneak attack with melee is actually the same as the ranged attack here. So just adding those damage riders there is just fantastic. So now she'll probably moonbeam me. Yeah, there we go. And there is the shield, which in this case, because there are so many NPCs that are going to take their action, I'm going to activate straight away. Back with another backstab for our girl. I obviously remember to bite her first. The mage hand hasn't been used yet, and that's because there hasn't been a reason to. The mage hand, I choose to use this in the combat situation, looking at how far can it move within one movement cycle, and then that's the movement it gets in my turn. So in that way, it's not like free movement. So for instance, now I get to fly it anywhere within anywhere within the ring here. All right. But seeing as I still have my advantage, I am just going to be pushing that. There we go. And then probably I'll be joining. Let's see, can we even? Oh, we can't get out of this. But I'll be joining Wrath over here. And then I'll be moving the hand. Falar Alu, so juicy. And even with one weapon, the sneak attack in so many situations, it just adds that benefit. You don't have your 2 attacks. That's a very, very big downside. But just the fact that you get that action off of a one-hander is fantastic. Anyway, so I cannot sneak attack this turn, which is fine. And I'm not going to do that. It's a bit sluggish now, but let's just dump our spell slots. Not that it matters much at this point. Fight is already over. Ollerden is in shapeshift, so that's already important. We have Wrath at high HP, if not full HP. So fight is pretty much done at this point. Adding Nettie into the fight very early seems to be very strong. Just generally very strong. I mean, it's not guaranteed anything, but look at how much time they spent trying to kill her. So I think we need the hand down. He's still blinded. That's fine. Then I will just assault him. There we go. And then at this point, I'm just going to be hiding here. I mean, it cannot be overstated how strong the cunning actions are. They are the bread and butter of a rogue. If you mean to play it, you need those actions. Sometimes it's impossible to hide. Obviously, that's a problem. But it is bread and butter that you can get that advantage and get that sneak attack in there. And the Falar Louvre with the finesse stat enabling the sneak attacks is also just fantastic. The Falar Louvre is great for so many characters, but it seems like the Arcane Trickster here is just it just rocks, basically. I didn't even need the hand much, but it will come in handy later on for the Arcane Trickster. Very, very handy in so many situations where you don't have extra allies, where there are enemies everywhere, it's impossible to hide, stuff like that. It just comes in so handy. Alrighty-o. So this was it for the rogues. For this fight, at least, I'll be trying other fights later on, I think. General takeaways. The Titan String Bow plus a strength stat is insane for whatever character you're running. Sharpshooter feat is fantastic in any kind of combination. The feats, obviously, the medium armor is very good. It's just very, very, very good. It just adds in that extra versatility. When most of your damage in a basic rogue setup is coming from your sneak attack, you don't need an offhand weapon. The offhand weapon primarily makes sense on the thief, but it also works on the other classes. The problem is that as a rogue, you want that bonus action to be able to cunning cunning action hide for a lot of things. The ranged rogue seems to be a lot stronger generally than the melee rogue because of the range, obviously, and the versatility that puts in there for so many situations and things. However, the dual wielding rogue does seem to have a lot of potential inside of the thief subclass toolkit. Yeah, so obviously there's a lot of random. Nettie can be added to the fight. Nettie adds a lot of power. She adds a lot of staying power help. She adds a lot of constitution survivability for your party. She does a lot of things in the fight that can be very valuable. She puts a lot of damage out. She does many things that is particularly valuable. Kagha, probably for me the two random factors of this fight that I can't seem to fully root out is the moonbeam, which is a problem for any class basically inside of this fight. The moonbeam is a problem because if it deals a lot of damage, the rogue has the uncanny dodge, so that strips away half of the damage if the uncanny dodge has not already been used. So that's very effective, but the moonbeam is a random factor for real. And also Olodon's ensnaring strike is a big random factor. If you do end up getting ensnared, it's, I think, imperative that you're able to get out of there with a Misty Step. So you need to be able to get out of there. You need to get some way of dealing with it. If you can break your concentration, that's one option, but you need to do something. And it's absolutely crucial that you do something. But it does get a lot more critical if you get stunned like that. Thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe, watch other content on the channel, and I will be posting more in the future. Bye bye.